right, it's like the Derby. We're off and running. Hey, everybody, I'm David Summers, and Steve Baxley is here, the owner of Wolfpack Karate and MMA. Steve, what's going on in your world?
Oh man, I'm melting. It's noon in Alabama,
I
July 30th. I'm melting.
don't
I'm
get
sitting
it.
here. Yeah, it's humid today. This one, but I'm from Alabama. I'm acclimated. After a few minutes, things will be normal.
Of
It's weird.
course.
Yeah, there. It's weird how the human body, regulates to the climate. Once you get out here in it, you're used to it. I mean, think about it. For hundreds of thousands of years, we lived in it. We didn't we didn't have an AC, to go in. And I'm talking about as a species, Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
That's and we're so soft now. As a species, we're very soft. Not all of us, but the majority of the people are.
I'm rugged and tough as long as I'm in air conditioning.
Absolutely.
Rugged and tough. That's me. All right, listen, there's so much going on with Wolfpack Karate and MMA. You're in a new location.
Absolutely.
Yesterday was sort of. I did yesterday finalize like the last trip to the old building on Westgate Parkway.
Done with that place.
So it's over. You don't have to go back. You like turned in the key, locked it up.
Well, no, no, no. I got to turn in the key, I said I'd be out by August 1st, and here we are, July 30th. So,
Yes. Yeah.
I'll probably mail the key tomorrow or today,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't have to go back. Well, I think I'm gonna go just walk through the other building, make sure it looks neat enough, and I mean, the AC units didn't work in the old building, and I mean, we literally were going into the summer with these
Wow.
massive units. I couldn't afford to fix them, and I was just in a tight after the baby was born.
Yeah.
My wife and I, Haley was in the hospital for an entire month, all but 5 days in March, and that got us behind. And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
bills got behind, and everybody knows. Man, I ain't ashamed of it. Everybody knows what that's like, unless you were born completely privileged with a limitless bank account that you could just blow all your money. If you're not that person, I've never been that person. So, you know, here I am. I've just been a guy trying to build a tribe of people that are good people that wants to learn how to fight and stay
Yeah.
together and be good humans, and I'm not looking at it like it's a dab blame business. And I got in that big side of town over there, that big rent, man. I was about to sink this mammoth dojo of mine. It was crazy. I had to get myself some relief. I've got me a new building, man, that is over, by Dothan High, the old Dothan High, which is Dothan Preparatory Academy, and
Yeah.
it's a standalone building. It feels like a gym. I don't feel like I'm just having, to keep paying somebody else to make them richer. I'm not trying to get rich teaching karate. That was my goal at one time, because I've seen like one of my mentors in the martial arts business make himself a millionaire. And I remember he said, "Oh, he's an extraordinary human being, good human being. Nothing wrong with him becoming a millionaire teaching martial arts. He's awesome."
Yeah.
His name is Greg Silva, and I remember I was at an event, and he called five of the people he had been mentoring up onto the stage, and this would have been in the 2000s, I think. And, the right after the 90s. He had made all his money in the 90s, man. And he's teaching us what he did, and he called five guys up on the stage. He said all five of these men are millionaires. They all followed this system, and they're millionaires. And what happened was 2008. See, 2008, a recession came in, and a lot of martial arts schools just went kablop. And yeah, because when people don't have money, man, and you see that martial arts is something you don't need, something you can live without, you're going to
Right.
drop all of it. So what I learned over the years was I need to be something that you can't live without. I need to be something, and I need to tell the story and explain to everybody what we're really doing. We're not, you know, I opened I started martial arts because I was getting my ass beat at school. I was in the sixth, seventh grade, and I was getting my ass kicked. So I'm like, And I was the toughest son of a bitch in the dang school. I guarantee you I was. It would be hard to be tougher than me back then. I grew up out here on this dang farm, man. I was feral. You know, I was trying to be civilized going to school. I was having a hard time, man. I was a C student, you know, I was that kid. I didn't need the bullies, you know what I mean? And there were some guys that were just massive, man. They had failed twice. They were supposed to be in ninth grade. These guys were, you know, they were squaring off with us in the locker rooms with the coach ain't there, you know, just crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
And you start, and I'm going to be honest, I was terrified of these guys, man. I wasn't scared to stand up to them because I just can't stop myself, man. You didn't have to tell me to fight. I come out in a box fighting, you know. I was out here being real, you know, real little Homo sapien running around in the woods barefooted, man, catching poisonous snakes. And I'm not joking. I mean, my parents I would bring a copperhead home in a bucket, a small one, you know, that I'd caught myself. And I was like a little Steve Irwin, man. You know what I mean? It was crazy, but
yeah,
that's why I was so tough. And I just didn't put up with, you know, when you grow up in nature, when you literally grow up in nature, you understand reality better than anybody else. You understand there's some dangerous shit, you know, that you got to watch out for, that's venomous. And, you know, I remember my cousin, I love her, my oldest cousin, she was freaking out. Spiders freak her out. And I have had arachnophobia my whole damn life. And something happened to me where I got to where I taught myself not to fear spiders. And I just watch out for the poisonous ones. There's only 2 or 3, you know, the rest of them are our buddies, man. They're eating the bad bugs and stuff and the bad spiders. And you know what, once I sorted that out, I've kind of, I don't want a spider in the dang bed with me. You know what I mean? but I'm not going to go, and go crazy like I used to would. But one time my cousin was like, she was telling me she was freaking out over some spiders at my uncle's house. I mean, it's an old house built in the 50s. And, you know, there's some house spiders. They call them common house spiders. I mean, it's a specific looking, big gray looking spider, you know, they're harmless. And, you know, they'll make a little ugly web in the corner of an old house. You know what I mean? If you haven't been in that room in a long time, they're in people's garages, you know, and, you know, there was a few of those, and they're monsters, you know, they're big. I mean, these guys are probably, you know, the descendants of the spiders that lived there with my grandmother, you know what I mean? And my uncle lives there now. And my cousin was talking about, oh my God, Steve, we just gotta, you know, fog the whole house, do whatever. And I'm like, those aren't poisonous. Well, how do you know? I'm like, because I grew up in this environment. I know this environment. I know that, you know, those aren't the bad ones. Those are eating the bad ones, you know? But it's just that understanding, you know, kind of cleared up, you know, helped me out with the arachnophobia. But my point is, I was that feral, and I understood, you know, the dangers of reality. And there was the bullies, man. There's one more danger in my reality. And I'm sitting here, a problem solver I've always been. And I'm sitting here going, how do I fix this? You know, I pulled out an encyclopedia, started reading what karate was. And finally, I just demanded to my parents, you know, if you don't put me back in karate, I'm not going back to school. You know, it was summer, you know, the end of, you know, back then, I think we had 3 months of summer. So, man, and usually the bullying isn't real bad until the second month of school, you know, when everybody's sorting out the pecking order, you know. And I mean, you know who the bully is day one. He just, you know, he's just got his favorites. He hadn't worked his way around everybody yet. You know what I mean? Right. And so, you know, I had probably about a 5-month window to train. So I got attacked and I whipped that joker's butt, man. And I got a lot of respect after that. And I, you know, I've had my butt kicked since then, you know what I mean? But I kept developing to the point where, you know, I've built a school. The reason we have the school, Wolfpack Karate and MMA, is because I don't want any other child to have to experience that. And the narrative, the story, as I explained to everyone what we do with Wolfpack, you know, I'm trying to teach your child how to be able to beat up every person that they know, so they don't have to. They need to be able to fight better than every person they know. And then everybody will leave them alone and they can stand up for themselves. And at the same time, I teach them how to be strong, healthy, and tough. And I teach them how to, I mean, We are, you, it's just hard to explain, how multicultural we are at Wolfpack. We have people of all from all around the world, all different cultures, all training together, loving one another. And they understand we're here to teach our children to not drown. This is as important as swimming. You teach your children to swim so they don't drown. I teach children, I teach young people how to fight. And if I can get them at 4 and you do not quit bringing them to me, no matter how bad they want to stay and play a video game at home, or
Mhm.
just be lazy because the weasel's trying to get them, you make that child come, and you tell me that's happening so I can encourage them and reset their thinking, because I will do that every time with a child, and I will reset their thinking back into warrior mindset instead of being a victim, because 95% of the population is in victim mode, according to Vishen Lakhiani in his book The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. That's level 1 consciousness. And if everybody's in that victim mode, there you have to try to learn how to snap out of it and be a damn warrior. A warrior's not a victim. A warrior refuses to be a victim. A warrior says, "Oh, that leader over there is a tyrant. Let me get my buddies. We got to go handle. We got to go handle some shit."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you don't have to go in the army, to be a warrior. You can just decide that you're not going to put up with anybody ever again. Spitting in your face, taking your lunch money, doing a bad deal, as a contractor or something. You know what I mean? You stand up for yourself and you become a difficult person at that point. People think you're difficult. Oh, he's difficult to deal with. No, I just don't put up with your dumb shit. That's
Right.
and that's who that person becomes in life.
Yeah.
I tell people, the people that watch Happy Days, I'm trying to turn everybody into the Fonz, man. Ain't nobody messing with the Fonz. And he's the nicest, coolest guy that you ever met.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I
But
mean,
that was kind of long-winded, but
yeah.
you know what I mean. That's it
No,
in a nutshell, man.
I completely understand. Nobody wants a bully. Nobody likes a bully. So you're not training bullies. You're training people that are smarter and tougher than the average bully.
Yes, and if you hear Kevin Hart talk about MMA fighters, I believe that's the comedian Kevin Hart, I think is who said it.
Yes.
He's talking about there are he said them MMA fighters are real. They look normal. They look like normal people, but
Yeah.
they ain't. I am not quoting him, but that's
Yeah.
what he's saying. He's saying y'all better watch out. An MMA fighter will kick your butt, and they look like just some old bookworm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's facts. But as they train, they take that shirt off. They don't look like no bookworm. They may still bookworm.
Yeah. 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 All right. So listen, yesterday and in the last few days has really marked a new day for, pardon me, Wolfpack Karate and MMA. The new location, it seems to fit you so well. You're in the former TGY location on South Oak Street. Is it 1424?
I
1424?
1024.
1024 South Oak Street. And the only thing between you and the former Dothan High School, now Dothan Prep Academy, is a Walgreens, right?
That's correct.
So
Well,
you got
it's
you
out
got
of business, Walgreens, but
yeah, they're not in business? Oh no, I didn't realize that. Okay, I wonder why. Never mind. Okay, but so you got Dothan High, you got the Walgreens, and then you got where TGY used to be. And listen, we thought we were going to do the show from there yesterday. It didn't work out because I really wanted to be able to help you show off what you have and everything that has been moved and is still in the process of being moved down to the new location on South Oak Street. So the sign is up, and I saw a video last night with the new letters that are up on the front of the building, which says, does it say karate and MMA?
yeah,
Okay, all right. So you call it Wolfpack Karate and MMA, but the big red letters on the front of the building simply say karate and MMA. And you're at I think a very popular location, being there on South Oak Street and not very far from Dothan Preparatory Academy, formerly Dothan High School. So you've still got a good bit to do. Yesterday, you had the guys, you had the team taking down mirrors at the old location on Westgate Parkway. Did they get the mirrors up in the new location?
Absolutely.
So everything is up. You have the wrestling ring up. Well, it's called. It looks like a wrestling ring, and then you have the MMA ring. Is that what you would call that one?
Well, we have a cage, a 24-foot monster brand cage.
Yeah.
That that's the MMA fight cage, and then we have an MMA fight ring, which is for kick, like Thai boxing, kickboxing.
Right.
We don't do boxing. There used to be a Wolfpack boxing with Coach Johnny Traywick. He extraordinary boxing coach. We were friends for over 20 years. He had Wolfpack boxing, and he coached at our school for a long time, and now he's moved on, and we're not we don't even do boxing now that he's not there, but we weren't Wolfpack boxing from Ozark. That was Coach Johnny's. We weren't that evolved into me. What happened was I was Premier Martial Arts. It was like a franchise. I was part of them. Hundreds of schools are part of them. And I was part of them for a while, and I had their name, Premier Martial Arts. And we started fighting MMA. And I decided to leave Premier Martial Arts. And when I did, I had to come up with a name, and Coach Johnny was there with us. And the fighter said, "Man, why don't we just call it Wolfpack?" And I said, "Coach, would you mind if we use the same name that you've been using all these years? Just call ours Wolfpack MMA or Wolfpack Karate." And I said, "And since you don't have the gym open anymore, you'll always have a home with me, And that worked out for many years, Now, he's moved on.
Yeah.
I think he moved somewhere, from Dothan, but we're because boxing can cause some bad habits in MMA. We don't like for our guys to do boxing. I mean, we're still throwing the same punches of boxers, but we don't do like bending down, like you'll see somebody bending real low, almost to their belt. You know what I mean? When they drop, you do that. You do that in MMA, and you're taking a knee to the face. You know what I mean? So that's a bad habit that boxing creates. My middle boy did a lot of boxing. He got some great hands working with Coach Johnny, and but he picked up that habit of dropping real low, and nobody could hit him until he started training with Alex and those guys. Alex is #1 in Alabama MMA, and Alex would keep him honest. Pop how about that knee, Dawson? That sort of thing, and also, boxers put the weight on their front leg.
Yeah.
That is a gift to a kickboxer, because we're kicking that thigh. Yeah, thank you for planting it for us. Bam! And it don't take but a few of those, and you're ready to stop the fight. I'm talking about the one that's taking the licks to the thigh.
Yeah.
It's a shin hitting the thigh. It's a baseball bat hitting your thigh over and over at full velocity. Yeah, that's how tough an MMA fighter is, because they just pick up that leg and they take it shin to shin.
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
That's how they block, is they pull it up. It's like there. And there's been people in the UFC that once that they're throwing that kick and the other person brings up the leg to check it, and their leg breaks around their leg. The one throwing the kick breaks their leg on the other person's shin. Isn't that something?
Wow.
That's happened in the UFC. It's happened several times out there. It's on video. It's gross. We're trying not to ever have that happen.
Yeah. Let's get a status update. How much do you lack before you've got everything set up like you want it in the new location on South Oates? And are you already using it as a training facility? Is it up and running now with still a little bit of work to do around the fringes?
We're completely up and running. We're going to be working for a year, just little things. This is a very old building, but it's a very strong building. I mean, it was built probably in the 60s, I guess. It's true cinder block with, the wrought iron in the middle of it holding it up. It even some of the rooms in the back are cinder block walls. I'm talking about internal walls or cinder block. That's how strong this building is. And I walked on top of it, and it's solid. It felt like I was walking on concrete. I walked on top of that other building that leaks. That building over on Westgate, man, it's got multiple leaks.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get up there myself and fix them, and now they're leaking again. The building's got mold in it over there. I mean, it was just terrible. It's a newer building. You know what I mean? And this old building, just it's just cheaper material on the newer stuff. I know it because I see the contrast after I've walked on both roofs. The roof over there at Westgate, it's mushy. It's a mushy roof. It's softer metal or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That don't make me comfortable walking on it.
Yeah.
But the roof on that old building, it's crazy how solid it felt up there. Cause I was getting on that old building like, going, oh God, it's going to be mushier than the building I was on, on Westgate, but it ain't.
When did you find it and know that it was available? And what was your first thought when you saw it? This is exactly what we're looking for, or this is close. What was the temperament?
It's not the building I wanted. It was one of my last choices. I have seen the building for a while now. Haley and I both looked at it. I didn't want to have to take on this mammoth project of that level of cleaning and remodeling, and bless everybody that helped me. My the dojo, the students. I don't even know how many people helped me. 50,
Wow.
60, 70.
Nice.
I mean, but they showed up different times. Everybody did their thing. Some come and painted, and some helped me clean. I got a real no fool around, contractor helping me out. I mean, it's awesome. But the people, I mean, I could not have done it without them, and I'm humbled. I really am. And that's what the point I'm making. I am not trying to get rich teaching martial arts like Mr. Silva as 5 guys on the stage. I don't care about that at this point in my life. I want Wolfpack to have enough money that it's never struggling, and I want it to have enough to pay me a salary, Haley a salary, and my son Jake, and what other employees I have, so that we can keep this thing growing, so that we keep children from drowning. You know what I mean? From the bully. They got to know how to swim so they don't drown. They got to know how to fight, so that jerk of a bully that's going to harass your sweet little child that you held as a baby, and you couldn't imagine somebody being that much of a jerk to your child. But that's what happens about 2nd grade on if your kids are in public school. Charlie will never go to school. I'm not allowing it as long as I'm alive. It's not happening. And we're going into a world where and again, I can't stress enough how grateful I am for everybody that helped me. And I'm going to go on to the other subject. I almost chased a rabbit, but I want to say we hadn't packed up anything. We hadn't done anything. I gave notice without getting rent, without having a lease on this building. I just on faith told the landlord I was going to be gone by August 1st. And I didn't even have the other building leased. It was my least favorite building. To answer your other question, I almost didn't do that. I had a contract on a piece of property on Hartford Highway. That's a fact. And I had agreed upon a price. I signed the contract. It was 1.5 acres. I was going to build a 10,000 square foot building. I had 2 contractors working with me, putting the idea together, how much it was going to cost and everything. I had the bank on board. We were working with the SBA. I mean, we got deep involved in this. And then the owner of the property went to have it parceled and subdivided. And then the city went through their process, and it was just taking way too long to get it parceled out. And the bank had already sent an approval letter. People South, shout out to them. They are amazing. But they had sent a letter to the realtor, and so that everybody knew this was a grown-up deal. It was happening. And then it got time where I had to sign an extension that I still wanted to buy it because it was taking too long, the city part, right? I'm not mad at anybody. This is just what happened. And it gets to the point where I got to sign another extension. So this would be a second one after signing the original contract. And I'm starting to get cold feet now because I realize I do not have time to build my building now. Because I was going to get out as soon as I could and try to work something out with the landlord. And, because I just can't, I was at the point where I'm going to go out of business or I pivot right now. And I have been open for over 30 years. And I know that point. I know when, if your ship's going through icebergs, man, you got to have a sharp captain. You know what I mean? And you better have somebody looking and lights on so you don't hit an iceberg. And or the rocks, I had to navigate my boat away from the rocks. You know what I mean? And, that's what I've done now. I've got myself in a position where, I'm strong, and I can operate because I have a big dojo, and what happened was, all that was wrong was we got behind in our bills, during March, because Haley was in the hospital all but 5 days And, I was up there with her, and I'm not paying the bills. And all of a sudden, we come out of that with an empty bank account and this beautiful child, and we're like, oh, now how do we fix things? And then it took forever with all the moving parts. I'm getting a bank loan, and I wasn't able to get all that I was trying to get. So now I'm limited, and we're having to figure out how to do this. And God stepped in. A couple of weeks ago, I've told people this, and I really did do this, and I'm not religious. I'm not. I quit practicing religion, and I started studying religion, and I started practicing spirituality. And oh, Steve, it's the same thing. No, it's not. It is not. You dial down your religiosity and you become a better human. Anyhow, I don't practice religion, but I talk to God all the time, all day, every day, and I'm communing with God out here in nature, because that's where God's at. He's not in that dang screen. Actually, he is. God's everywhere, but you can't see him in that screen because you're distracted. Anyhow, a couple of weeks ago, right before we launched, okay, so not this Saturday, this last Saturday, we're at July the 30th right now.
Yeah.
And so not this last Saturday, but the one before, we walked in to a building that the floor needed completely stripping up, all the gunk from where all the all the shelves had been, you know what I mean, where they were sitting on the floor. This had been an auto parts store last. It looks like nobody ever cleaned this building. I have gone through and pressure washed the walls and the back seat, and I washed all the water out the door. I have flooded the front of it with water and washed all of the gunk out the front door. I stripped that floor with a buffer. I was in the Army. What was funny was over at Bracken Paints. All them old guys in there kept telling me, "Have you ever used one of these buffers? Will whoop your tail now. You better know what you're doing." I'm like, I was in the Army. They're like, "Okay, yeah, well, cool, but I'm telling you." And you weren't in the Army, all right? You don't understand that I buffed floors a lot. I was in basic training and AIT. That's 8 months worth. I was out there getting it, man. But anyhow, we went through and cleaned that place completely up, and then put fresh paint all over it, sealing it up. After I bleach mopped it, after I pressure washed it, got all the water out, and it dried, and now we got a clean floor. I bleach mopped the floor before I even painted it. So we got a brand new feel inside that building. And because my little girl's going to grow up in there, and all those children are going to be in there, I wanted a clean building, because this building is, I'm purchasing this building. I'm in a lease with it right now.
All right. That was going to be one of my questions. Okay. So you're leasing it now, and you're eventually going to own the building?
Yeah, but it's not a lease to own. I just, we sorted it out to where in writing we all agreed that I mean to buy this right now.
Right.
But because of my, my chaotic situation financially for a brief moment there, and now I fixed it, you know what I mean, that situation.
Right.
That caused me, and the fact that I didn't have time to build. I finally said, I don't want to lease this building at 1024 South Oats. I want to buy it. I'm not interested in leasing. I said, but the next right thing to do is lease it so I can get in it. I possess it. Yeah. And then, I talked to my banker. They're on board with it. People South, we're going to move forward. And as soon as I had to use some land as collateral and, to get a loan. I thought I was going to get more, but my land ended up, anyhow, it's a situation. But I wasn't able to get as much. And what I'm doing is I'm going to pay that off real fast, as soon as I can. And we're just going to turn around. And he gave me the number I needed for the down payment. And it's a very doable within a few months from as long as we do all that me and Haley are supposed to do. And after we just pulled off what we just pulled off with all the help I know we can.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching my heart out, man. I'm tough on them kids, but I know what I'm building, and the parents feel it too in that new place. So we're going to make it successful quick. I mean, at the new location, because it's packed already.
Yeah.
So, other people just like, oh my God, I know people driving by seeing all the cars like, what is that? Yeah. Oh, big signs. They see it. But anyhow, it's in writing that, we are purchasing it very, during the lease, and we've already sorted that out in writing. I'm just not giving everybody the details, but
break down some of the details on what is left to do inside the building as far as just having everything in place so that you're 100% satisfied? I like this now. So, I mean, what's missing? What still needs to be set up in the building?
Nothing. I just got to touch up paint and do everything now is cosmetic except the bathroom that is the main bathroom. It's almost finished. So and it's
There's one
all,
bathroom.
there's a second one,
Okay. Okay.
but it's more. We haven't done anything but pressure wash it.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
The one up front, we're dolling it up because all the karate moms are going to be using it with their children.
Sure.
So and it's taking longer. That's the only thing. Okay, let me answer this question different. The only thing that I wish that I had accomplished by Sunday night, we opened to Monday. 2 days ago we opened and had full classes. The
Yeah.
only thing that I wish we had finished was the bathroom, but it just had some old plumbing we had to replace, all kinds. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
too, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't get anybody on it because everybody we were doing all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But we have a functional bathroom. It's just not one that anybody's going to have access to after this front one's done today.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. When I tell you everything's done, it is because I got to put a few ceiling tiles up. I'm telling you, everything's cosmetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to do.
Maybe a few ceiling tiles, and
Yeah,
then you still have. I noticed in the back, in the storage area, you still have mats that could eventually go down. Do you have more mats to put down?
there's nowhere to put them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, I do not. That little hallway is going to be a hall of fame. We're going to put I've been open 30 something years, been doing martial arts for 40 something.
Hmm.
I'm going to put all of everything, my teachers' pictures, and I'm going to tell a story down a hallway. Because that's
Yeah.
a hallway, so that hallway's not going to have them bags and stuff. All that's going to be cleaned out of it. Probably going to put a door where you see that, where you saw that cage door. Probably going to make a wall there with a normal door.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
not an exit that's marked as a fire exit. So I'd
Yeah.
rather just close off that room and keep tools in there because this is a building that I'm going to be working on for another year. I mean, there's things like there's a leak in the very back of the building. No problem. I don't mind fixing this building. This is mine. It's going to be mine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't tell you how at peace I am right now. And now, let's go back to that religious thing. I'm bouncing all over the place because you'll ask me another question and then I hadn't finished the other because I was chasing a rabbit.
Yeah.
And we got a lot to talk about. So what this is, if you keep asking questions like that, because it's detailed. But I was talking about I'm not very religious because I'm not. I'm more spiritual, but I'm trying to commune with God on a daily basis, what everybody calls God. And when I say God, to me, I'm talking about what every human is calling the one creator. That's, just believe that I'm talking about your God. I'm talking to the one that we all believe in. And so I'm talking to if we were Native American, I'm talking to the Great Spirit. I walked out and I said, so we're going to have to go, I guess, Christian with this one because we're talking Old Testament. But the reference I used, I looked up and I just said, this is 2 weeks ago. I said, God, I am tired of being Job. I have had enough. I'm humble. And I meant it. I'm like, all that is real, all that is you, God, everything that I just need some help. I need the blessings of King David. I'm done being Job. I am humble. I was that way about it. I'm letting y'all feel me. And then I said, I need King David's blessings. You loved King David. I said, he could get away with everything and you still favored him. I used to feel like King David and I don't anymore. I need that back. And now I have that back. It feels like God is just blessing my life. I mean, it just feels extraordinary. And I have gotten out of my way. The problem was I wasn't able to be the real me. You know what I mean? I've always been authentic and genuine. Let me say this different. I was the real me. I hadn't been able to give 100% of me until now because shit. A huge portion of my energy was directed at holding everything together. we were at a pivot point where I was either going to go out of business or move right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I gave the landlord notice before he gave me notice,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
I had nowhere to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That takes a set of kahunas to do, or you're just batshit crazy. And I'm maybe batshit crazy, man, because I did that, and I did that with a wife and a newborn baby. You know what I mean? Because I had to, man, because I understand reality. That damn business game is a game, man. All these rules, that's a piece of paper, man. And, money and richness, I do not want that. I just need my dojo to pay me a fair salary. You know what I mean? And I got a VA check. I don't need a lot, and I don't want to, I don't, 300 students, we're going to have a waiting list is what I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to, hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
You believe this is happening? There's some delivery driver over here blowing the horn. I think my wife's inside asleep. I think he sees
Yeah.
me. Hold on a second. All right.
Okay. All right. Let's go. And for those who are not familiar with the Bible, and I certainly don't claim to know any more than anybody else, Job, uh, according to the Bible, was probably one of the most tested individuals ever in history. God tested Job over and over and over. So if you felt like Job a little bit, then that's kind of understandable that you're glad that phase is gone.
Yes, I am. And I was distracted a minute because there's something now that somebody just drove off. Some delivery driver used their brain. They sat in the driveway and blew the horn. I hope they left whatever they were. My wife,
Right.
I think, taking a nap with the baby. Anyhow, that's what I mean about knuckleheads in the world, man.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, I can't move. He's probably looking out here at me blowing the horn. Why won't he come get it?
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, back to the Job reference. Yeah, God, that God in the Bible, that story, God wasn't being very nice to Job, man. And let's just be real. Everybody, could Steve say that? That's some tough stuff, man. That's a tough thing to let somebody live through. All the things that Job lived through. I didn't take it as hard as Job, but I felt like it. You know what I mean? And it felt like I just did not have God's favor. Like, God, why are you letting this happen? I mean, I really am trying, man. It was just letting me know that there was still a little something in there, maybe that I needed to clean up, man. Maybe a little, something that I was holding on to or something. I've evolved rapidly, but I haven't had a chance. See, what I was trying to say is I haven't been able to give the energy, the full energy, the 100% of the energy that I could have been given the world, because I was having to use so much energy with stress and worry. And I mean, it was a terrible ride, man.
Where's that now? Where is that now on the scale? As far as I know, you just opened on Monday, not even there a full week. But what about the stress and the energy? What's it like versus 10 days ago, 14 days ago?
I have zero stress right now because nobody's holding all the cards in their hands anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I have control of my life.
Yeah.
See, my life was out of control and there was too many moving parts, and you don't understand unless you've been in business. And it looks like, like yesterday, I was on the phone with he's arguably the number one Muay Thai instructor in the United States. He owns OC Muay Thai over in Los Angeles, California. And that's Orange County Muay Thai. And OC Muay Thai, he trained a guy, him and a buddy of mine, Mitch, trained a guy, I think, but they both trained him, some. He, his name was Cub Swanson in the UFC, pretty hot shot fighter. And I was talking to him yesterday. I hadn't talked to him in a while. He's moving over this way, and I'm really excited. He's going to be closer, like maybe in Florida, so we're going to be able to, our guys train with him. He actually, his company now is Vitamins. So he's got camp vitamins, like a vitamin for fighters, like the nutrition for fighters. And he sponsors Alex Riley, our fighter, the one from Wolfpack that's #1 in Alabama. So he's going to be closer to us. So we're really excited about that. But, I was talking to him, yesterday, and he gave me some really cool, I forget what I was going to say about what he said, but he gave me some pretty cool insights. Oh yeah. He was talking about my success, right? Okay. He has this massive, he was actually, let me give you some more details about him. And he was talking about my success. If I tell me that in a minute, if I lose that. And so there was this fight league called Affliction. And I think Donald Trump had used to own part of it or something. I mean, and it was a rival to the UFC back in the day. And there were some really good fighters over in Affliction. And the Affliction, they made T-shirts. You saw all these real cool shirts that, it was the first time you saw a lot of shirts that the screen printing wrapped around the whole shirt. It's a type of screen printing that's kind of complicated. And all of their shirts did that, right? So they had and they were tough looking, and fighters wore them, the Affliction shirts. And they had their own fight league that fought in the cage. And the main gym, the headquarters of Affliction, Dave Jansen, that's OC Muay Thai. He was there. He was training the Affliction fighters. You know what I mean? So that's who he is. So he's talking to me yesterday, and he tells me, he goes, Steve, I just love your success. I love following, your success. I just see it online. And I'm like, nah, man, you don't know, bro. I was about to go out of business a week ago, I'm like, good God, And he's like, no, I ain't talking about the struggle, man. We all had to put up with that in business. I'm just saying what you've built, man, with those kids and it's just, I've watched you do it, and it's extraordinary. And he was telling me what my mentor, Mr. Silva, he had consulted him before, and he was talking about, he talked about me. He said, yeah, Steve Baxley, he gave me a really nice compliment. I'm not going to say it. I'm not trying to brag on myself there, but I was humbled to hear what Grandmaster Silva had said about me through Dave Jansen, because Dave ain't lying to me, and I was like, oh, wow, cool. And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that man's watching me. I do. I understood what he meant, the compliment that it was. But anyhow, here we are. I am literally operating, training kids. It ain't never going to be done. I'm going to always be repainting, and you know what I mean? Because it's a gym, and a kid's going to tear up something. You know what I mean? Some knucklehead teenager's going to go, what does this do? And screw something up. I'm in a gym full of people. So I'm never going to be done.
Yeah, I was never like that, and I'm sure you weren't either.
Yeah, I was an idiot that did dumb stuff. Yeah, I was the feral kid. I had to learn, man. Yeah. I usually didn't do something stupid twice. See, that's the difference in me and these modern kids. These modern kids tough.
Tell me about karate moms, and what is a karate mom, and what does she look for when she brings the child, whether it's a young boy or a young girl, and she hands them over to you? What is she looking for? And there's some good karate dads out there too, so I don't want to leave them out. What are the parents looking for when they drop them off with Steve?
There are all sorts of karate moms. All karate moms are not created equal. The karate mom that comes to my dojo, we let them try it. I yell at your kid possibly the very first day. I made a joke yesterday. There was a little warrior ran over to his granddaddy. His granddaddy's being an old tough. It sounds like he might have, he's a granddaddy, older than me. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting there with his daughter and his little grandkid's 4 years old, and I wasn't yelling real hard at this class, but he ran off the floor to his granddad, or just ran off the floor. Yeah. To his mom. That's what he did. And I walked over there to the kid, and I made a joke, but I was like, all right, you're in the Army now. You can't run to your mama. Come on, let's go. and old granddad liked it, Yeah. But yeah. I'm trying to plant the seeds in everybody when they walk in the door. This is not a soft sport karate. Your child is safe, never going to get in the face dojo.
It's simply not playtime, right? Is that how you look at it?
Yep, we're having fun, but it ain't funny.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We're having fun, but it ain't funny. And we're learning that we got to be strong, healthy, and tough, and this ain't easy.
Yeah.
And so I
What
have to educate the moms.
what does it take to really drill down and get the attention of a 4-year-old and to understand the concept of what you're trying to teach him or train him to do?
Oh, they're human beings, man. They understand. I just talk to them. I teach kids different, but I'm tough on them, man. I'm hard but fair. That's what I say. I'm hard but fair. And they learn quick what hard but fair means. And that's all ages, man. We're not just talking to little warriors. Obviously, I'm softer on little warriors, but I will get hard on little warriors. I yell, man, and it's like sounds like Mufasa roaring. I rattle their nervous systems, and I do it on purpose because the bully's gonna beat the crap out of them, man. This is
Right.
fighting. When you get hit in the face the first time, you cry when you're a kid. Most of them. And
Yeah.
I just say, all right, now listen to what we've been talking about. Now's when you get tough. Now's when you get back on the horse because a cowboy, a person tries to ride a horse and they get bucked off and they don't get back on the horse. They are not a cowboy or a cowgirl. The cowboy or cowgirl gets back on the horse. If they don't get back on the horse, they're just somebody that tried to ride a horse once. I said, yes,
Right.
if you're going to be a fighter, to be tough, you have to keep moving forward, cover up. I mean, you got to learn how to take those hits
What is
and
the
not cry.
what is the most common thing that you hear from a mom or a dad as they're dropping the kid off? What is the most and in meeting you for the first time? And you're ready to introduce them to karate. What is the most common thing that they ask of you or are looking for?
It's varied. I want my kid to have one of the most common is self-control and discipline. Everybody knows they're being soft on their children. Everybody's being soft on their children unless you're
Mhm.
abusing them. There's no in the middle where it's supposed to be. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
It's either somebody's getting arrested. Everybody's so scared to get arrested for child abuse because of the school systems for all the years. It's been
Yeah.
careful what you say to the teacher.
Yeah.
What teachers are looking. Listen, when I was in fifth grade, I had that rooster hit my arm, and my fifth grade teacher, Miss Shivers, was questioning, you know, DHR, man. Like it looked like a cigarette burn. So it was even back in 1980. It was,
Yeah.
you had TV, you started having TV shows and movies, and some of them be drama, and it would be about child abuse or something. And, that was around when I was a kid, and people, it was in the systems. They were, the wokeness was already there. I mean, it was
Yeah.
dancing around in our school. I mean, I'm sorry if y'all believe in all that, but, woke went too far,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
people just are so afraid that they're going to get in trouble. And, people see me get on to Dawson and, they probably go, oh my God, he's a tyrant. He's a bully himself. No, man, that boy beats grown men in the ring and he's 15 and he's got a sassy mouth and he's popping off. He's going to get himself in trouble. He's got to get self-control. You know what I mean? He's got to get through these hormones.
Yeah.
He's a teenager. He's got to get through these hormones and get self-control. And I'm the that can get on him like that. And people,
What's
oh
the
my God.
what's the number one reason for a fight between two kids? It's always the mouth.
Yeah.
Somebody said something.
What's the problem with the world?
Right.
Listen, the Palestinians and the Israelis are killing one another, and they're beautiful people, both of them. They're extraordinary people, and they hate each other. And it's all over ideas, words in the mind, or
Yeah.
it's just that they've been told the story that we're supposed to hate each other and we're enemies and we're all one species on this planet. That's just one story. Man, you got the Ukrainians and the Russians killing one another.
Yeah.
Beautiful culture over there. Look at all the old buildings they're destroying that will never be back. That breaks my heart, man. I love history. You know what I mean? Didn't we do enough of that crap during World War II? You know what I mean? And we gotta quit being that way at the individual level. I mean, if you don't see the peace in me, I walk around peaceful, man. I'm not trying to start a fight. When you can fight, who can probably hurt you. You know what I mean? When you see somebody, that don't mean you can beat everybody up. Sensei Steve can't beat everybody up. Man, a UFC fighter that's training right now, that's current, my body weight are slightly under, and all the ones over my body weight can kick my ass in a street fight probably. I'm going to have to shoot them. You know what I mean? There's a limit. I'm 55. I'm not training for all that. I'm not putting my body through all that. I'm athletic at 55 and I'm healthy on zero meds. That's my goal till I die.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? And I'm
right.
not planning on getting in the ring and hurting myself. I stopped letting my head get hit in my 30s. And what's funny is I heard Joe Rogan, he said the same thing. He said he quit doing full contact kickboxing in his 30s because he realized he didn't want, the damage. And I've taken some hits. See, I wasn't just doing, martial arts and getting hit in the head. I was playing football at Dothan High, 6A ball with several guys that went to Auburn University. I practiced with them every day. And
Yeah,
they went on to Auburn. They were big, strong, faster than me, tougher. And
yeah,
so when you hit a guy like that and you can go toe to toe with him, at least not die, you can survive. At least you're not on your back. You might not be able to put that guy on his back, but he couldn't put you on your back. Maybe because you were agile enough to land on your feet or whatever. Man, that
mhm,
gives you some confidence, but it also teaches you, damn, there's some people on this planet that it don't matter what I train in. It don't matter how good I get. I'm still just 175 pounds. You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
And I was once 210. See what I mean? I was a bigger man in the 2000s. I
Yeah,
was eating bad food, folks. So I was walking around fat, athletic because I was eating sugar.
yeah,
Yeah, but there's a limit. So, you know, I try to teach reality to my students. I try to teach them that there are 1,600 NFL football players. And they're the most elite athletes on the planet because, out of the hundreds of thousands of college football players and the probably millions of high school and young kids that are playing football every year, there's only 1,600 of them at the top. Those guys, and they're special. They're some of them pushing 400 pounds and they run a 4.3 40. Ooh, I can't even outrun him. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah,
cannot outrun that guy. All you got left, if he's rabid,
yeah,
is probably the pistol. You know what I mean? And like one of those grizzlies, he still may maul you before he dies. I mean, so when you realize that there are some people on the planet that are really high level elite guys athletically that don't even have to know how to fight and they can still break you in half, you're not going to be able to. It's going to be hard for you to do like in the movie or the TV show Game of Thrones. The what was he, the Red Dragon beat the mountain or whatever, and then he's walking around just, yeah, look, I'm the greatest, and the guy recovers, stands up and
yeah,
squishes his head.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
anyhow, that's my point. If you get the mountain, the giant on the ground, you better finish him. You better be King David and finish Goliath, man. Hit him with that stone right there, because that's all you got. Now, other than that, you should be able to be a better fighter than most of your friends if you're not me.
right.
And all your friends are fighters and other martial artists. You,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you're training in martial arts as a student, your goal should be that if I got in a fight with anybody I know at the dojo, if you know what I mean, if we got in the ring, I'd beat them. I'd beat them in MMA. And if you can beat everybody you know in MMA, you're going to walk around pretty safe. And then the only thing to protect yourself and your family any further would be to learn how to use a handgun and get you an AR-15 and learn how to use it.
yeah,
And so that you can protect yourself, because the Second Amendment, I don't give a damn who I offend with this. The Second Amendment is a right, and it's what keeps us free. And people don't like that we are so armed, and
yeah,
that's what keeps
yeah,
us free. You know what I mean? And that's how you protect yourself. You got to be able to outgun the bad guy. And I recommend learning how to use an AR-15 from a professional and learning how to use a good Glock. Get you a Glock, man. Because
yeah,
if you don't know guns, that's a weapon that's dependable. And you know what I mean? Get a 9mm. There's a lot of rounds. I mean,
yeah,
I am about doing what we're supposed to do. This is rewriting our roots, this podcast. And I'm doing everything I can at the dojo to influence those people to, you've heard some of my story here. It wasn't real clear because I bounced all over the place, but you get the gist of it. I got in a hard time. I fixed that. I still may have some battles to deal with. I don't care anymore. I'm doing it from a strong point. I'm doing
yeah,
it from my vantage point. I
yeah,
got the home field advantage on the south side of Dothan. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
I'm over here by my house, and I love Piggly Wiggly. 10% over cost. Good God, when you got 3 boys you've been feeding for the past few years, and
Yeah,
they're in their teens, and you're $500 a week you're spending on groceries and it drops to 230 to 250. Man, Winn-Dixie, Publix, what y'all doing? Highway robbery? You know what I mean?
All right, Steve, as we start to wrap it up this week, we're so pleased and relieved for you to be in a new location. But how do you compare your facility to anything in the Tri-States area, for example? So how does your setup compare to anybody else that's doing what you're doing?
We would be with my son's experience and my experience. Let's add that element in. My wife's experience with the little ones and everything that she does and the kids. With the experience we have there, with the skill set. And when I say the skill set, I mean the spectrum of that little 4-year-old walking in there nervous, holding their mama's hand.
Yeah.
Like one little warrior yesterday ran to his mom crying that was trying the class for the first time, and they walked out before the class was done. You know, so that kid didn't start. So the one kid that does, that little 4-year-old, from that kid to Alex and Jason and Dawson and Johnny, you know, those are teenagers and adults, and I'm leaving a bunch of people off, Nick and all these guys that are just so good. You know, they're good fighters, or they're good sparring partners for the fighters or whatever. They would be at the.
Are these trainers that you're talking about?
No, they're fighters.
But do they help you train the younger people? I mean, do some of the names you just named off?
That's not the right question. Let me show you, and you'll get the answer. Okay. Mm-hmm. The 4-year-olds at this side of the spectrum going this way. Those men I mentioned are on this side of the spectrum at the top, the tip of the spear. That's a skill set I'm talking about, not trainers. I'm talking about the skill set from the little 4-year-old that don't know anything, or the 5-year-old, all the way to the guy that's number one in Alabama, and the other guys around him that could be number one in Alabama. All they got to, in their weight classes too, all they got to do is fight a couple of times, you know. But their skill set's enough where they can go with Alex, and some of them, you know, outstrike Alex. That's how good they are. That's why Alex is so good. He's training with guys better than him. So those guys are the tip of the spear. They're the top of the spectrum. And all that in between is different levels of experience. Like Dawson sparring Les, and Les is one of the top 15 or 16-year-olds in the dojo. He's in there training with the Alex and Jason and all of them, just getting beat up and black eyes and just like the grown men and all these people. Dawson was out for about a month because he was, I guess it's been a little while back. He was at his dad's or something. And I think, no, it was during the time that me and Haley were in the hospital. So Dawson just had a chance. Now, Dawson's my middle boy, and he's one of the best fighters in the dojo. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And he just got a terrible attitude. He's got that teenage attitude. But most of the time, he's a sweet boy, though. You know, but anyhow, he was fat, out of shape, eating sugar over at his grandparents'. You know how that goes. And he comes back fat, out of shape. And people that maybe hadn't seen it, one guy said, "Oh, my God, Dawson just beat the crap out of Les. Les is beating everybody." I'm like, Les has a year's experience and Dawson has 9 years experience. Okay. That 9 years of experience puts Dawson up there close to the tip of the spear, you know, or at it.
Right.
In the spectrum of experience here. So the way those fighters, here's your answer. The way those fighters help is they're sparring the ones once they're ready enough to get in there with them. Gotcha. And you get better when you spar those guys. And yes, they will just all of a sudden, they will be over there just sweating, and they're tired, and they've trained their ass off for about 3 hours. And I got 20 kids in the cage because I have a massive cage, and I got kids sitting on the edge of the cage. All right, give me 2 over here, 2 over here. And the kids are in there just hitting each other in the face, mouthpiece, headgear, beating the crap out of each other. And some of them are getting real good. And then fighters will be over there exhausted. They look up and they'll holler at them. They'll tell them what to do, or they'll walk over and 2 or 3 of them be standing on the edge of the cage. And it's funny. We got one guy, he hadn't been in a while, Ray. He's our professional fighter. I hope Ray comes to the new location that's closer to his house because his personality's golden. He's probably the best. You know what I mean? All of them have a hard time beating him. Oh, he's going to be rusty when he comes back, probably. You know what I mean? But anyhow, his personality, man, he just encourages those kids, hollers their names, and he's real loud, but it sounds real positive, you know, and he brings the energy to it. So, yeah, that's how they do it, man. We're a tribe. See, I've been building a tribe. I have not been building a business. These people are not. These people are not my customers. And that's what. See, I was playing the rich man's game. I got caught up in trying to be successful and that being a number. Now I can't stand money, man. I hate it. I know that the world is imploding. The world is chaotic, and this rewriting our roots. I almost went there, and then we started talking about the dojo again, but I want to hit this now. If you do not understand that the godfather of AI, he's been working on Mr. Henson, he's been working on AI. They call him the godfather of AI. He's been working on AI since the 50s. Okay. Wow. He works for Google. He retired, says, Google, we'll see you, man. I've had enough. I'm good. And the Google goes, hey, listen, just keep showing up. You can work on whatever you want to work on. We're not going to tell you anything. You get the same salary. Google's that rich, obviously. But, Google's like, you're an asset. We're going to keep you. And so he said the other day, he said within the next year to 2 years, all white collar jobs will be gone and replaced by AI. Hey, 1 to 2 years, he says that's where we are. He's the godfather of AI. Steve didn't say it. He did. Yeah. Now that's a warning. Okay. He said, and then the podcaster asked, well, what do we do? What do we tell our children? He says, teach them to be plumbers. And see, I'd already come up with this. I said, hey, we got to be doing durable trades, things that have been going on for 200 years, carpenter, farming, shepherding, and I'm doing it out here. You've got to learn how to grow your own food, learn how to process your own goat, your own sheep, your own cow, your own hog, whatever, if you eat those, chickens. I'm doing it. Alex and all the boys are coming over to process. I'm going to get everybody out many hands, and I'm going to process these roosters I had because now they're overdue. So now I'm not trying to pack out my freezer. I'm going to pack out everybody's freezer. I don't care that I'm giving away money this time, because I got to restructure everything. You see what I mean? Yeah. And look at all those people help me. And they want to learn. What I'm doing is I'm giving a class on processing chickens live for my friends that want to learn how.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be, it ain't easy. When you've got a bunch of them, it takes a while and it's a process. You got to throw them in the plucker, and, you got to know what you're doing. You got to have the temperature 140 degrees, dropping them in there so the feathers are loosened. And I'm not going to call it fun, but you feel there's something righteous about it. It's terrible the animals are losing their lives, but when you're kind of like aware that I'm doing something terrible, I'm taking a life, and that's terrible. But we're going to eat it, and we're going to try to, like the Native Americans, try to eat all of it if we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we all got to get back to doing this. Our great-grandparents knew how to do all this. And then we changed and started factory farming in the 40s. And that's why we're sick. We're eating processed food. You know what I mean? We've had this podcast over and over. You know what I mean? But this is a reminder that, guys, the apocalypse is upon us. Eric Weinstein, one of the smartest physicists in the world, says that this is World War III, that the shots have already been fired. He's not the only one saying that. I'm not saying, oh my God, guys, get scared, run. They're saying it's not going to look like the other ones. You know what I mean? Like World War II looked. And, that doesn't mean the whole world is going to die, as long as we don't, the dangers. We grew up in the 80s in the Cold War. We know the dangers, but that's not what we need to focus on. We need to focus on going back and rewriting our roots, remembering who we are, so that we survive. And I'm going to remind everybody, in the 1920s, when the Great Depression happened, those city folk, guys, were rewriting our roots. We're Southern. Those city folk up in New York jumped off of the money. Oh, it's the end of the world. And they jumped. I hate it that they killed themselves, but they jumped off of the buildings and killed themselves because of the Depression. They lost all their money. Yeah. The rich man, he couldn't get over it, and he killed himself instead of just, hell, I'd have moved to the country and went, you know what I mean? I'd have went, man, I'm going to go build me a cabin. Y'all keep my money. Bye. Peace out. Right. Especially back then, they couldn't even find you, back then. And so I'd have went and changed my name, You see that on that one show, Mad Men or whatever, Don Draper, he wasn't really Don Draper. He took another man's name. You could do stuff like that then. You can't now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But those people would kill themselves during the Depression. I said all that to point out that I am sitting here on my great-granddaddy's farm, Jefferson and Martha Lofton, my great-grandparents' farm. that they paid $1.25 an acre for back in 1892. And
Wow.
it's a true homestead type thing. And his son and wife didn't even notice the depression because nothing changed except,
Right. No.
yeah. And my granddaddy was the man responsible for the state or the county to give out the stamps so you could get your flour. So my family were privileged during time. You know what I mean? They were just in a good place because they weren't part of the game. You know, the game
Right.
of
And they didn't have
business.
anything to compare poor to, so they didn't know what poor was like. So, and
they understood they didn't work for the public. That's
yeah,
what they understood this.
yeah,
Oh, we didn't fall for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
everybody else sold their farm
Yeah,
and their children's inheritance. I mean, not everybody else, you know, but there's
yeah,
a few farms left, but most people sold their farms, and the kids, and they got all the money, and now all that money's gone. And you know, they built houses, and you know what I mean, and neighborhoods where the farm was. You know, it's pitiful. It's sad to me. And
yeah,
that's the problem with Dothan right now is all the builders, all the, you know, the people that are progress for Dothan, you know,
yeah,
they're building everything. They're buying up all the land, all the people that do that, all the realtors that buy up all the ex mayors, you know how they do it. They got their own realty and they buy
yeah,
up everything, and then other rich men and women buy up everything. And so when me and Haley were looking for locations that just don't exist, I was having to pay some obscene number. That acre and a half, we agreed upon $135,000. Looking back on that, I'm glad God stepped in and said, Steve, this isn't right. And that building that we ended up in was not my choice for renting. The only reason I rented it was because I had to grab it quick and make a deal. And I know that every contract is unique. And so I had to make the deal so that I could pull this off. You see what I mean? And that's where I'm at. And now I'm at a point where I can do business and make money and not die, you know, not struggle.
yeah,
And when you're in a good place and you just don't make the mistakes you were making. When I couldn't give myself and my world and my reality 100%, you know, even if I was only 80%, 20% of me was making mistakes.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that 20% was really,
yeah,
you know, bogging us down. And there was no way that we were going to crash. There was no way I was going out of business because this ain't a business to me. It's my friends. They're not my customers. They're my friends, my students. Those little kids, I love them, man. They're, you know, they're maturing into, I mean, it's not religious and it's not a cult. It's a group of people that all share the same values. We want our kids to grow up peaceful and strong and healthy. And when they get in there, they're not expecting me. Here's the answer to one of your questions earlier. One of the dad that painted the front of my building for me, you know, where the sign is, you know, he showed up. He was a professional. He just showed up and did it.
wow.
And I think, what did my buddy say? Anyhow, he said, Steve, you know, the best thing is all the stuff you're teaching them. I can already see a change in my child.
Yeah.
You know, I already see the difference in my child. Kid's been there a few months, right? And the dad's willing to, for free, come help me.
Yeah.
You know, and on a Saturday in 90-degree heat with his shirt off on top of his truck, driving his truck forward and spray paint. He even, I mean, what a wonderful human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And
dude. All right.
And my buddy Ben, what is it? Oh man, Jesus, I forgot the name of his. Anyhow, I'm gonna give you a shout out next time, Ben. And I'm gonna give you a huge shout out because you're doing so much, and I'm gonna tell everybody what all you've done and what you know, what just a great human being you are. A buddy of mine, and he used to be a firefighter with me. He's really helping me out a lot right now, and I'm just having a senior moment, having a blank, and I had it ready to roll too, man, and that's why I forgot it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's been great, and I'm really, I want to keep. Let's not forget to every time we have a podcast, I'm saying this public, we got to remember that we got to talk about what are some solutions for everybody. That's what Steve Baxley's trying to do. That's my mission. I'm trying to help you become the very best version of yourself. And when you do that, you're going to wake up. You're going to go, oh crap, I need to help fix things like Steve's talking about. Yeah, you better start growing your own food. You know, if you want to eat, if you want to stay alive, start growing your own food, because things are happening rapidly and you can't understand it because you're so busy working 40 to 50 hours a week for 40 to 50 years, and you're not paying attention to anything but mainstream news. And they're saying nothing to see here, folks. Just keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
then when you hear Steve say something, or Joe Rogan, or some, you know what I mean? I'm going to throw Joe Rogan in there and all these other independent podcasters that are calling bullshit on them. You know what I mean? I'm that guy too. And they criticize that they do backhanded criticism to all the independent sources that need to be vetted better. You know what I mean? No, we're telling the truth. It's y'all that are lying for the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry. You know what I mean? The medical industry, whatever it is, it's all wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if your head's in this phone all the time, if you're on social media, I am not on social media, y'all. That's not me. That's Haley posted. I'm making the videos so y'all can see it, and I'm looking at the responses and helping respond, but I'm not on there actively. I'm aware of you guys saying things to my videos, and thank you for the 5,000 some odd views on that first video. I mean, that's like mini viral, isn't it? I mean, how many people gets 5,000 views? I was so grateful for everybody sharing it. That first video, the first day where, the guy goes by and says, God bless, that was a great video, of the dojo. And it really did show. I mean, you could almost hear the relief in my voice.
Hey, Steve, listen, as you're in a transition and you're into the new building, it's a great time for maybe somebody who's thought about taking the kid or taking themselves down to join. This is a great time to join, and tell us why.
Well, today and tomorrow, if you sign up today or tomorrow, okay, July 30th, July 31st, and then we're going to be closed until Monday. But today and tomorrow, you get a free month with sign up. So you get a whole month free. It's just the best time to enroll. It really is. And we're packed out right now. We're figuring out, I mean, it's kind of fun. We're having to put people yesterday we were so busy. Jake come over, he says, Daddy, I need this big floor for jiu-jitsu. I had a huge beginner kids class. We enrolled 8 people yesterday. Most people don't enroll 8 people in a month. The average martial arts school does not enroll 8 new people a month. We enrolled 8 people yesterday. We've enrolled as much as 30, 40, 50 people a month. We have. That's how powerful the machine has been. And that was when we were doing it like a business. Now we're doing a more slow grow, and we're educating people when they come in. If you want to be part of this, there's a certain way we behave, and we share the same values. And I tell you the values, and those values are cross-cultural, and they are every religion. You don't matter what you are. My values meet yours, whether me being a Christian and culturally a Christian, if you're culturally Muslim or culturally Buddhist or culturally, if you're just a science-based atheist, the values that I share are very easy. I want my children to grow up strong and healthy, and I want everybody else's children to grow up strong and healthy in a world that is peaceful. And I'm doing everything to do my part. And I'm just a guy from Dothan, Alabama, that got myself in over his head with all them high-priced pieces of real estate and the only reason I leased that place, that big one, was because of COVID, man. I was panicking. I was like, we were in the lockdown, and the landlord I had was a guy in Tennessee, and his daughter took over the Fountain Plaza. His daughter took over managing it and fired Darlene Ream. These are facts. You can't get me for slander. This happened. They fired Darlene Ream. Darlene Ream called me, my friend Darlene. She called me and said, Steve, you better get out of there if you can. How much you got left on your lease? I said, I'm month to month. I'm not in a lease. She said, you better get out of there. Mr. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's fired me and his daughter's running it. Now here's the rest of the story. I just found out somebody else had problems with him, right? The daughter lived in New York, and I couldn't get her on the phone. But somebody did come stick the card on my door and said, here's where you make your payments. So I'm trying to call this person, can't get them on the phone. And then my buddy has the building behind leased, and I'm storing my cage in the building behind that beautiful cage I got right now, $20,000 cage that I got a good deal on. I didn't pay that for it, but I got a good deal, and I'm grateful for that. But that cage, they put a new lock on it because my buddy couldn't pay them. And we couldn't get the money to them, so they're doing all the things like, you guys don't pay, but you're not making it easy for us to pay you. So I panicked, and I leased, and I knew that they were making it to where you can only, okay, now you can reopen after COVID here, but only 50% capacity at a time, like for gyms. So you got to wear a mask and social distance. So I went and got a building. The occupancy, the fire occupancy was like 1,000. So see, and so I got the building because I'd never had over 500 students. The most I ever had was 400. So my entire student body, if the government decided to do that again, see, I was going into unknown waters. And if the government did that again, then, I wouldn't be shut down. So I leased this building. The guy did me a favor in the beginning, and the rent just kept going up. And that's how I asked him to do it. And here we are at the end. I was planning on buying him out at the end, and having the building, and that didn't work out. It just blew up in my face, so here we are. I had to get myself a better place so that I could survive. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't afford to do the AC and all that, but here we are with it. Now, isn't that something? That's a heck of a thing to live through. Now, I still got things to sort out, but I'm going to try to do it the best of my ability and do everything the right way if I can,
All right, Steve, give us the address one more time. You're on South Oak Street, the new location, close to Dothan, the former Dothan High. Give us the address again.
1024 South Oaks. And guess what? My birthday's 1024.
Oh, cool deal. All right. And another way to get up with you, a phone number.
334-677-2002. We're not always there answering the phone. We're not always manning it, but it is in a place now more convenient where you might get answered sometimes, but we don't have time to talk to you when we're there. The best way to get up with us is www.mmadothan.com. That's mmadothan.com. And you make an appointment. It's real easy, and you just show up. You can even sign the waiver before you get there. It's that easy. Haley has it that automated. And with the newer, younger people, it's easy. Sometimes people, I can't get them on the phone. I'm sorry. I'm not manning the, we are there from 4 o'clock to about 7.
Even if you don't make an appointment, can anybody stop by at any time?
Yeah, walk in.
Yeah, cool.
Walk in, take a look. I want you to watch. I want the parents to stay. I want you to hear the crazy stuff I say. I'm saying I'm funny, man. I really am. Once people learn me, what's he gonna say now? Because I tell the kids the truth, man. I tell the parents the truth, and people's their lives have changed, man. I'm talking about the parents.
Good deal. All right, so Steve, congratulations again on the new transition, and I know you're relieved about getting everything really working well for you in the coming days, and I know that's gonna be a smooth process for you. Hey, Steve, another great one this week, and we'll do it again next week, and we'll talk more. Steve Baxley, owner of Wolfpack Karate and MMA. I'm David Summers, and we'll see you next time as we rewrite our roots. Take care, Steve.